Cinema is powerful. It makes us feel things. It brings out emotions we sometimes don't even know exist within us. It can inspire us, make us cry, make us angry, or fill us with hope. But the most dangerous thing cinema can do is make us believe something without even questioning it. And that is where the real issue begins. How many of us really think before reacting? How many of us stop and analyze what is a film actually telling us? Is it just telling a story, or is it pushing a narrative? And if it is pushing a narrative, whose narrative is it? And most importantly, should we blindly accept it? The recent communal tensions in Nagpur, where people clashed violently, some blaming the movie Chhaava for inciting hatred, have once again sparked this debate. Did the film cause the riots? No, but did it play a role in fueling emotions that were already boiling under the surface? Maybe. But before we jump into conclusions, before we start pointing fingers at cinema, at history, at communities, shouldn't we stop and think? Shouldn't we try to understand the bigger problem here? Because this is not just about one film, one city, or one incident. This is about how we as a society have stopped thinking critically and started reacting blindly. And that is far more dangerous than any movie could ever be. Now, before we analyze the larger issue, let's talk about what actually happened. The violence in Nagpur began when a group of people, reportedly from VHP and Bajrang Dal, protested against Aurangzeb's tomb. They burned an effigy of Aurangzeb and demanded that his tomb be removed, claiming that glorifying him was an insult to the Maratha legacy. There were also claims of a cloth being burnt which had Quran verses on it. On the other side, members of the Muslim community reacted sharply, angered by what they saw as provocation. Clashes broke out, stones were pelted, property was damaged, and several police officers and civilians were injured. And amidst all of this, the movie Chhaava was dragged into the conversation. Some people argued that it had reignited Maratha pride and in turn anti-Mughal sentiments, leading to tensions. But here's the real question. Does a film alone have the power to start a riot? Or was this riot simply waiting to happen and Chhaava was just an excuse? Because if it wasn't this film, something else would have triggered it. A speech, a news headline, a viral post. The problem is not a movie. The problem is that people are too quick to react and too slow to think. Now let's talk about the movie at the center of the storm, Chhaava. At its core, Chhaava is a historical epic that takes creative liberty while depicting Chhatrapati Sambhaji Maharaj's struggles, his resistance against Aurangzeb, and the brutal circumstances of his capture and execution. But here's the thing, this movie wasn't just about hate. If anything, Chhaava had a crucial lesson that was completely overlooked in the midst of all this outrage. One of the most important aspects of Sambhaji Maharaj's ideology was that he never saw religion as the enemy. He saw Aurangzeb as the enemy. He was against oppression, against fanaticism, against cruelty, and not against a faith or a people. He believed in the coexistence of multiple identities within a kingdom, and yet somehow the only takeaway from the film became the torture and the execution he suffered under Aurangzeb. Why did we ignore the broader lesson of leadership, unity, and resilience and instead focus solely on vengeance? Why did we allow the most violent part of the story to shape our reaction instead of the most thoughtful one? And more importantly, why are we still stuck in the past? These historical sagas portray a world of empires, conquests, and power struggles, a world that does not exist anymore. The rulers of those times were different. Back then, the rulers were not concerned about democracy, human rights, or diplomacy. Their primary focus was expansion, survival, and control over land and people. If we look at history honestly, the reality is that most rulers, regardless of religion, engaged in war, brutality, and political intrigue. They were emperors, not social reformers. To apply a 21st century moral compass to the actions of rulers from centuries ago is flawed thinking, and yet we still get emotionally invested in comparing times that cannot and should not be compared. Living in the past and carrying the weight of historical events into today's world only holds us back as a society. The question is, do we want to move forward and learn from history, or do we want to keep fighting battles? that ended centuries ago. Cinema has always been a reflection of society, but sometimes it also becomes a tool to shape society. Now, throughout history, cinema has been a force for good. Films like Rang De Basanti didn't just entertain, they sparked real-life activism with young people demanding justice for corruption and political wrongdoing. Pink played a crucial role in changing how Indian society views consent, shifting the narrative around women's autonomy. Article 15 made people rethink caste-based discrimination and highlighted systemic injustices that many refused to even acknowledge. These films contributed to social change, challenging norms and making people aware of their surroundings. But just as cinema can be a tool of reform, it can also be a weapon for manipulation. During British rule, Indian films were censored to suppress nationalist and patriotic voices, ensuring that only content that suited the colonial narrative was allowed. In Nazi Germany, films were used to spread anti-Jewish propaganda, painting an entire community as villains. Hollywood during the Cold War played its role in shaping public perception by portraying communism as an evil force that had to be eradicated. Even today, many films are crafted not to educate or entertain, but to push political or religious agendas, shaping the way people think about history, identity, and nationalism. The problem is we often fail to recognize which films are telling real stories and which ones are shaping a story to serve someone's agenda. Whenever a controversial film is released, two things happen. One group celebrates it, saying, "This is the truth that was hidden from us." The other group demands a ban, saying, "This film is dangerous." History has shown us that banning films only creates more curiosity and at times suppresses important conversations. Remember, Udta Punjab was almost banned because politicians didn't want the film's portrayal of Punjab's drug crisis to reach the masses. Padmavat sparked violent protests across the country even before people had watched it. An example of blind outrage fueled by hearsay rather than fact. The Kerala story was criticized for its alleged misrepresentation, but banning it would have set a dangerous precedent where any film that challenges dominant narratives could be silenced. The moment we allow films to be banned because they hurt sentiments, we set a dangerous precedent. Because then, what next? We ban books, we ban opinions, we ban anything that makes us uncomfortable. Criticism is necessary, debate is healthy, but bans, they take away our ability to think for ourselves. Now let's talk about the most important part, us, the audience. The real question is not, is this film dangerous? The real question is, why do we let films dictate our emotions to the point that we turn against each other in real life? As viewers, we need to develop a habit of questioning narratives rather than blindly accepting them. Before reacting to a film, we must ask ourselves, is this film presenting history or a version of history? Is it based on facts or emotionally driven storytelling? Who benefits from this narrative? Does the film promote awareness or division? These are the questions that separate critical thinkers from emotional reactors. Some films are made to tell us real stories that inspire change. Others are made to push agendas that create division. We as viewers need to be wise enough to tell the difference. Cinema is art. It is storytelling. It is a way to explore ideas, emotions, and histories, but it is not absolute truth. It is not a history book. It is not a political manifesto. It is not a reason to pick up stones and fight. History should be studied, not weaponized, and cinema should be enjoyed, not used to create hatred. The more we start treating films as tools for fighting, the more we lose sight of what they really are, a piece of art. The next time you watch a film, enjoy it. Critique it, debate it, but don't let it control you. Because if we allow ourselves to be manipulated by narratives without questioning them, then maybe the real problem is not the film but us. Think before you react, question before you believe, and most importantly, never let someone else's script dictate the way you see the world. Thank you for watching today. Bye-bye.